Good. We have good connection here. Just signing in. Making sure that everything comes online. Good. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. View channel. Home. See if it's coming through. Good, so we're live there. Just waiting for this to come online over here on Twitch. Check it again, make sure that we are going. Profile, there we go. There we go. Should be running now. Good there. Just making sure everything's all set up. Yep, there we go. Now it's coming through. Stream Manager. Nice. All right, there we are. Let's begin, shall we? Yes, we shall. All right, so we're set. Hello, everybody. It is August 7th, 2026. Currently 5:37 in the evening, and this is going to be another 3-hour session. This will be the third one for today. And what is the purpose of the stream? The purpose of the stream is to demonstrate the acquiring and the honing of skills which are going to be necessary in my academic journey. And those 3 skills are the fundamentals, the fundamental set of skills that every academic needs, and those 3 are the acquisition or the capture of knowledge, the categorization of knowledge or insight, and then finally the ability to recall or reproduce. Those are the 3 categories of essentially the 3 tasks or skills that everyone who's engaged in intellectual endeavors is required to possess and to hone. Now, in my particular instance, my manifestation, if you will, of those 3 skills, it's really 2 skills, especially in the course of the stream here. The 2 skills that I am engaging with are the ability to acquire knowledge and the ability to categorize knowledge. In the area of categorization, in the area of capture or the acquisition phase, I am using the skill of shorthand, which is the ability to look at language in its phonetic form and be able to convert it into some sort of it's the ability to convert it into a series of easily produced strokes so that you are able to capture and work with the ideas effectively and relatively quickly, but also with less strain on the hand. So this is the world of shorthand. In particular, I'm working with Gregg Shorthand. You can see it here on the screen. I have my notebook essentially pulled up in which I am copying the forms, and then I have my dictionary pulled up as well that allows me to look up the words and use them. The book that I am working through and almost done with is Sonke Ahrens' How to Take Smart Notes. Sonke Ahrens' How to Take Smart Notes, and this book is fulfilling the requirement for the knowledge categorization part of the training, and that is that Sonke Ahrens in this book argues that any idea worth having should be able to be said in your own words in 1 to 2 sentences, and these 1 to 2 sentences are to be written or stored in some sort of, if it's an analog version, on some sort of piece of paper, a slip of paper, or if it's in a digital version, same thing, 1 to 2 sentences, very short, and stored as some sort of retrievable note on the computer. The beauty of the system comes into play in that during the course of your research, during the course of your studies, you are gathering these little bits of information, these little ideas, and then you slowly amass a number of these ideas to the point where you are then able to do your, produce your manuscripts, write your books, write your articles. But you don't think about writing articles, books, manuscripts until you've acquired this mass of information. The beauty of that is that every part of the process, of the academic process, or I should say of the manuscript process, is designed to, it completely focuses your mind on the tasks that are necessary at the moment, and the way that your brain operates, it focuses you in that particular way. So your brain is able to work most effectively and most cogently on particular tasks. Okay, so that is the essence of the slipbox method. It's also called the Zettelkasten method. That's the German for it. And you'll see it, if you do a search here on YouTube, you will see various Zettelkasten approaches and techniques and the like. And a lot of them are derived from, well, I think all of the current modern understanding of the Zettelkasten, or the slipbox, comes from the work of Niklas Luhmann. And in fact, Sonke Ahrens himself he's referencing the Luhmann paradigm, if you will. So Ahrens is making a very strong case for why it's necessary to have the slipbox. But as far as the tangible worked example, he, like many other authors and writers, is using the Niklas Luhmann approach. Okay. So, with that being said, I'm on page 137. There are 158 pages in the book, so really, really close. 157 pages in the book, so really close. And so, without further ado, let's get right into it. If you want to get a copy of the book for yourself, there is a link down in the description to an Amazon affiliate page. I highly recommend the book. Well worth the price of admission, and you will not be disappointed with the insights and the call to becoming a better academic and a better thinker in general after reading his book. There's also some links down below in the description to various resources for learning Gregg shorthand as well. A wonderful website by a friend who he runs a repository for all things Gregg shorthand, and also other shorthand systems as well. So that's down there. That's stenophile.com. And then also my own website for doing Gregg shorthand word lookup is available down there as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So we are on guidelines, structural guideline, but even then it helps to see it as a structural guideline and not a prescription. So I need to look up guideline. There's guide, and then guideline is just the LN added to it. So I need to straighten that up a bit right there. Guide. Guidelines, okay? Or guideline, not guidelines. Guideline. And not a prescription. And not, and then prescription is going to be PRS, or prescription. So this is going to be PR, and then maybe just prescription. Let's go ahead and check and see if that's prescription. I know that the E is really important, so we might need to have that. Let's go ahead and check. Prescription, there's perspective. Prescription. Prescript. There's prescript. And then prescription. Okay, so it's the extended phraseology. You see that? So we need to do prescription. PRES, and then KR shun, like so. And not a prescription. It is not unusual to change. It is not unusual. Unusual should be that right there. Let's go ahead and check unusual. It's usual, and then unusual. Yep, that's the form. So there is unusual. It is not unusual to change the order of chapters at the very end. To change the order of chapters at the very end. Chapters at the very end, like so. And that's the end of the paragraph. So I had been working on this before dinner time, so I'm going to go back and reread, starting with "it is vital." It is vital. Where is that? We're looking. Hopefully I dropped a paragraph marker. No, we're looking for "it is vital." It is vital. Da-da-da-dun. Searching. There it is. There's "it is vital." So I'm going to go ahead and drop a paragraph marker here and highlight it. Let's begin. It is, grab the highlighter. It is vital. There we go. It is vital to have a what is that? A separate project specific place to what is that? To sort your notes for a particular project. And then here, an outliner helps with developing a rough draft. Does rough require, the question is, does rough require an RUF or is it just RF? I can't remember if I looked this up. It's RUF, okay? So let's go ahead and replace that. RUF, there we go. A rough structure, but also always, but no, that's not also, but also allows you to keep it flexible. The structure of an argument is part of it, and the structure of the argument is part of it. Is that what he says? Yeah, is part of it, and therefore will change during the process of developing it. It is in a no, it's not visible. It's in a vessel. Vessel. Okay, it's in a vessel. Okay, a vessel to be. It is not. There we go. It is not a vessel to be filled with content. As soon as the structure no longer changes, next line over here, as soon as the no longer changes much, you can happily call it a table of contents. But even then, it helps to see it as a structural guideline, and not a prescription, and not a prescription. It is not unusual. It is not unusual to, and if that's unusual, I need to change the SH just a little bit. It is not unusual, there we go, to change the order of chapters, the order of, oh boy, I changed, that's patchters, oh my goodness, a little dyslexia, nothing worse than having dyslexia in Gregg. So chapters, there we go, chapters at the very end. And there's the end of our paragraph, so now we're going to begin. So let's continue. Another key point, try working on different manuscripts at the same time. So here's our next paragraph. Another key point. Another key point, colon. Try working on different manuscripts at the same time. Try working on manuscripts at the same time. Period. And that's all underlined, so I don't know if it's really necessary. In the book it is. It's italicized, so and when you're handwriting, italics are generally shown with an underline, so we'll leave it there. It looks hokey, but it's fine. Well, the slip box is already helpful to get the project done. So while the slip box is helpful to get the project done, comma, its real strength comes into play. Its real strength comes into play. And so strength and strong are the same, right? Strength, yep, and strong. Yep, they're the exact same phrase. Okay. Comes into, let's move this down here, fix this up. Comes into play when we start working on multiple projects. Comes into play when we work on multiple projects at the same time. At the same time. Period. The slip box is in some way the slip box is in some way what the chemical industry calls Verbund. What the chemical industry industry, and industry is industry, or no, that's probably a brief form. Let's go ahead and check it. Yes, it's just ins. Just ins. So let's go ahead and fix that. Okay, there's industry. The chemical industry calls Verbund. And Verbund, so this is Ver or Verbund if you're in German, but we're going to do Ver and then Bund, and this is B in D. The closest thing we would have would be bunt, like a bunt cake. So let's check and see. B-U-N. There's bundle, more bund, abundant, abundance, bunt. So B-N-D-T, bunt. Yep, we'll do that. So ours is Verbund. So we're going to move that up here. And we go Verbund, or it curves the other way. So we go Verbund, like so. Okay? And that's a quote. Okay. this is a setup in which the inevitable byproduct, this is a set up where the inevitable, in which the inevitable, setup is one word, so setup, there we go, in which the inevitable, in which the, and then inevitable, so this is inevitable, I think this one's the separate, right? This goes in ev, and then you do a B next to it for inevitable. Let's go ahead and check that. Ineva. Oh no, it is connected, so it is inevitable, like so. In which the inevitable, byproduct, by, and then product of one production line, of one production line, becomes the resource of another, becomes the resource of another, period, a comma, which again produces byproducts, which again, comma, which again produces byproducts and produces, and then it curves back around, correct? So we go produces. Let's see if that's correct. Grab the produce, yep, and then produces, so it just curves. Oh, it does use produces, it curves back, but it's curving away just a little bit. So we'll go produces, like that, okay? So there's produces. Again, produces byproducts that can be used. This is byproducts that can be used, oh, and used is split right there, that can be used in other processes and so on, in other processes, and so on, period. No, comma, until a network, haha, comma, until, he's not done yet, until a network of production lines, of production lines becomes so efficiently intertwined, becomes so efficiently, and this is efficient, efficiently, maybe? Let's see what happens there. If efficiently. Yes, that's efficiently. Good, good. So we can leave that there. Efficiently becomes so efficiently and then twined is twined, like so, and it has to have a line underneath, so it's intertwined. Check that. intertwine. Yep. And the N is in front just a little bit. Intertwined. Like that. Good. All right, almost. Intertwined. That there is no chance of an isolated factory. That there is no chance of an isolated factory and factory competing with it anymore. Competing. Let's check compete. Yep. Competing with it. That almost sounds like a conglomerate, what he's describing. Competing with it anymore. Any more. Period. And that is the end of the paragraph. Okay. End of the paragraph. So now let's go ahead and clean this up here and drop a paragraph marker here, and we go back to our previous paragraph marker, which is here, and we read. So let's begin. Another key point. Try working on multiple manuscripts. Try working on different manuscripts. There we go. So we need different up here. On different manuscripts at the same time. While the slip box is helpful to get the project done, it is really strong. Its real strength comes into play when we work on multiple projects at the same time. The slip box is not what? The slip box is in some way. The slip box is in some way what the chemical industry calls Verbund. This is a setup in which the what is this? It's in which the innervative inevitable? Yes, in which the inevitable byproduct of one production line becomes the resource of another, which again produces byproducts that can be used in other processes, and so on. Until a network of production lines becomes so efficiently intertwined that there is no chance of an isolated factory competing with it anymore. All right, there we go. Okay. The process of reading and writing inevitably produces a lot of unintended byproducts. The process of reading, of reading and writing, and writing inevitably produces a lot of unintended, so produces a lot of unintended byproducts. Unintended. So intend is intend. So unintended is un. We might have to do this. Unintended. Unintended byproducts. Byproducts. By and then products. There we go. Not all ideas can fit into the same article. Not all ideas can fit into the same article. And only a fraction of the information and only a fraction of the information we encounter is useful. We encounter is useful for one particular project. For one particular project. And that's the end of the paragraph. So now we're going to go back and read over that. Here we go. The process of reading and writing inevitably produces a lot of unintended byproducts. Let me check. Unintended. Unintended. Yep, there's unintentional and then unintentionally, which we don't have to worry about, but that is unintended. Byproducts. In all ideas, not all ideas can fit into the same article, and only a fraction. Is that fraction? Yes, fraction. And only a fraction of the information used we encounter is useful. Let's make that the F just a little bit bigger. Is useful for one particular project. That's the end of the paragraph. New paragraph. Zoom down. Here we go. If we read something that is interesting, if we read something that is interesting, comma, but not directly relevant, but not directly relevant, comma, to our current project, to our current is KRNT. Let's see if that's correct. NT. You have to add the E in between them, but other than that is correct. So we go current project. There's project, comma. We can still use it for another project. We can still use it for another project we are working on. We are working on, or might work on, or might work on, period. Everything that enriches our slipbox, everything that enriches, enriches our slipbox has the potential to end up in a text, has the potential, right? Let's see if that's correct. No, it's just potential. No need for the L. So we just do has the potential to end up in a text we might write. Has the potential to end up in a text we might write, period. By taking smart notes, comma, we collect en passant. We collect, and this is the French en passant, so en, and I don't think it's in the Gregg. Yeah, I didn't think so. In passing is what it means, and it's the idea that I think, what is it, one pawn can grab another one en passant. So we go en passant. How are we going to do this? This is going to be passant, en passant. Yeah. The material for our future writings in one place. En passant. The material. Oh, no, that's natural. So in material, it's just material, correct? Nope. This one's the different one. So material is just matter. M-A-T-E, material. We collect the material for our future writings in one place. For our future writings in one place. Period. The projects we work on can be differently. We work on can be different, can be in completely different stages, can be in completely different stages of completion. Completion. Let's check that. Nope, it's just complete. So KP and then shun. Different stages of completion, period. Some of them might not even have come to our attention. Some of them might not even have come to our attention. Even have come to our attention. This is advantageous. This is and then what is advantageous? So we go advantageous. Oh, advantageous. That's what it is. Advantageous. Advantages, advantageous. So you just take AV and then you add the us ending. And I need to add another page below this. Let's go Control D, page 12, how to take smart notes. How to take smart notes. 13, and this is page number 12. Okay, zoom back up here. Go advantageous. Advantageous. AV us. Like so. Advantageous. This is advantageous not only because we can make progress on the next papers, because we can make progress on the next papers or books while we are still working on the current one, while we are still working on the current one, comma, but also because it allows, but also because it allows it, this actually would work, that it allows us to switch to other projects. Us to, and then switch is S, it's, oh, we did this one, it's S-U-I, S-U-I-Ch, yes, to switch. Let's see if that's correct. To switch. S-W-I-T-C-H, oh, advanced switch, never heard of that. To switch. There we go, yeah, nice. Nice. So let's go ahead and move it over though just a little bit. Tilt it ever so slightly, and there's to switch. It allows us to switch what? To other projects whenever we get stuck. To other projects when we get stuck or bored. And I think bored is just bald, right? You don't even have to use an R. That's labored. Bore. Bawd. Isn't it? Don't we have like a board? B-O-A-R-D? Yes, board and board, they're the same thing. Oh, what am I using to look up the words? So there is a link down in the description below this video to a website that I created. I went through the Gregg dictionary and the manual, and I extracted all of the words from all of the Gregg shorthand forms from the book and turned them into SVGs, and then they're now searchable. So if you go to the website, in fact, yeah, so it's in the description below, and if you go to the website, you'll be able to access the search engine, and you can switch in between normal and mirrored mode. You've got light and dark mode up above. You can do exact and segment mode. So it has some nice features, just a simple lookup. So hopefully that helps you out, Betos. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch it back to mirrored mode for me, though. And board is what we have here. Bored, okay? When we are stuck or bored. Now let's go back and reread the sentence. Where did that sentence? There's the sentence start. So let's grab our highlighter and let's continue. So we're on if. If we read something that is interesting, but not directly relevant to our current project, we can still use it for another project we are working on or might work on. Everything that enriches our slipbox has a I just did this. It was has a has the potential to end up in texts we might write. But by taking smart notes, you collect en passant. En passant, that's that French word, okay? It means in passing. En passant, the material for our, is that for our? Did he just change what? We collect, that's what it is. I have a little pronoun trouble here. Come on. Oh. Zernal, I love you, but sometimes, especially when you do that, I do not like that. Here we go. We. There we go. We collect en passant the material for our future writings. Our future writings. Now, writings it requires a disjointed S below, and does it curve? I can't remember if it curves away from the line of writing or with. So let me go over to the dictionary, and I'm going to search up ings, and it curves away from the line of writing. Ings. So you can have the ings ending, and it's a disjointed S below. So there we have writings in one place. The projects we work on can be in completely different stages of completion. Some of them might not even be, some of them might not even have come to our attention. This is advantageous. This is advantageous, not only because we can make progress. Is that progress? Let me check. Yep, that's progress. It's a little bit more elongated even than that, so I'm gonna do the same thing. Extend it just a hair longer than you think. There we go. Progress. Make progress on the next papers, or books while we are still working. Yes, working. So I forgot the dot to make it the what is it? Past participle? No, what is it called? Past perfect? Working, I think. Working on the current one, but also because it allows us, is our next one, it allows us to switch to other projects when we get stuck or bored. Very nice. Next, so that's the end of page 137, and we continue on. So this is page 138. And here we go. Remember, so let's go ahead and grab our new paragraph markers. We have our highlighter, and now we go ahead and drop in and start writing. Remember, colon, Luhmann's answer to the question, Luhmann's answer to the question of how one person could be so productive, productive, and I think it just does KV, right? Yep, good. Be so productive was that he never forced himself, was that he never forced himself to, himself, I think it's just hymns, right? You don't even have to do the backwards S. Himself. Yep, that's it. To do anything. To do anything. And only did what came easily to him. And only did what came easily to him. period. Quote, when I am stuck for one moment, when I am stuck for one moment, comma, I leave it and do something else. I leave it and do something else. Wait, else is ELS, and that's what separates it from less, I believe, right? Nope, I take it back. Else is also just LS. I do something else. Period. And end of quote. When he was asked what else he did, when he was asked what else he did, comma, he did, comma, when he was stuck, when he was stuck, comma, his answer was, quote, oh no, so comma, not comma, colon, and then quote, well, writing other books. Well, comma, writing other books, period. I always work on different manuscripts at the same time. I always work on different manuscripts at the same time. With this method, to work on different things simultaneously, with this method, comma, to work on different things simultaneously, to work on different things, and then simultaneously, I know isn't it simultane? Simultane. Trying to remember. I've done it, but it's been a little bit. Simultane us. And then us e, right, for simultaneously. Let's check. Simultaneously. There it is. So it's simul, so you do have to have the diphthong. Simul, and then the L added. Okay? So let's do it. Let's do it then. Simultaneous, and then taneously, which you just add the E to that, okay? Simultaneously, comma, I never encounter any mental blockages. I never encounter any, and we have mental, it should be down here. Mental, and then blockages. B-L-O-K-A-G. Maybe, unless it's a shortened version. Let's do blockages. Blockage. Well, that's not there. So we have block. So block makes sense. And then what about AGE? AGE. What versions of AGE do we have? Maybe just blockage. It could just be that it's blockage, and then you just add a j afterwards instead of adj. If we take a look, we have manage, homage, savage, assuage, coinage. Okay, look at that. Coinage, blockage. That would help us a lot. We're also looking for maybe if we do a quick search for K, maybe KAG. There we go. Yeah, that helps us. So that's what blockage is. You see we have wreckage, truckage, trackage, breakage. In fact, breakage is exactly blockage. See that? So what we can do is I'm going to add that to the dictionary as blockage. Hopefully that'll save someone down the line having to look it up. So we go blockage. Okay, so that has been added, and what we'll do is I'll erase what I have there for blockage, and we have B-L-O-K and then J for blockage. Okay, so there's blockage. I never encounter any mental blockages, unquote, or close quote. And here's the reference. It's three individuals. It's Lumen, Baker, and Stanijek. Ooh, I haven't seen those names in about 3 or 4 weeks. Not since I saw their quotes at the beginning of the book. Then it's Baker. No. Baker. Baker? Yeah. And Stanijek. And Stanijek. So we're going to have to go down. So it goes Stanijek. Like that. Stanijek. 1987, pages 125 through 150. So we go 1987, 125 through 150. 125 through 155. Ooh. Through 50 through 55. Through 55. Okay? And close down the parens. And now for a little sip of water. All right. It is like martial arts. It is like, and then we go martial, unless it's just marsh. Let's take a look. Oh, okay, so if this one we do martial arts, colon. If you encounter resistance, if you encounter, I think resistance is just, no, it can't be that. It has to have, it's RES and then TNS, I believe. So if we go resistance, let's check and see if that's correct. Nope, it's a RES and it's a backwards S curved back in on itself. Yes, it's a resistance. Okay? And also no E. So we go up, out, in, out. Resistance. RS. Come on. Backwards, in, S. There's resistance, okay? If you encounter resistance or an opposing force or an opposing, that's oppose, right? No, that is opposite. So oppose is just APO. Like that. Let's go ahead and check and see if that is correct. Yep, there's oppose. So opposing, if you encounter resistance or an opposing force, comma, you should not push against it. You should not push and push. Is that just push or PSH? Just PSH. You should not push against it, period. No, comma, but redirect it towards another productive goal. But redirect it to another productive goal. To another productive goal. And this is goal, I believe. I think you have to have a goal, an O. Yes, good. Goal. Period. The slip box will always provide you with multiple possibilities. The slip box will always provide you with multiple possibilities. And I think it just goes and then abilities, you just add an S, okay? Possibility, yep, and then it's just an S. Very nice, so that is the end of section 13.5, or 13.4, so we're beginning 13.5. So now I need to go ahead and read back through what we just wrote down. If we read, remember, Luhmann's answer to the question, that's where we're starting. Zoom back up to the previous section, and we're looking for remember. Remember, which is here. Okay, we begin. Remember, Luhmann's answer to the question of how one person could be so productive was that his answer was that he never forced, and I think forced should be a disjointed T, so we'll go ahead and add that. He never forced himself to do anything and only did what came easily to him. Quote, what is that? When I am stuck for one moment, I leave it and do something else. When he was asked, and that should be asked, so it's a T underneath, what else he did when he was stuck, his answer was, well, write other books. I always work on different manuscripts at the same time. With this method, to work on different things simultaneously, I never encounter any mental blockage, as that blockage is. So we need to add an S to that. Okay. And that was Luhmann So the names there are Lumen, Baker, and Stanajek. 1987, page 125. Measure, not measure. That's my music. That's my musician coming out in me. Measure, not measure. Page 125 through through 155. It is like martial arts. If you encounter resistance or n, n, so that's just an a, or an opposing force, you should not push against it, but redirect it to another productive goal. All right, and that's the end of 13.5. So now I can go ahead and start in on the next. No, that was 13.4. So now I can start in on 13.5. Okay. Here we go. Zoom down over here. Oh wait, is there more? Yes, there was one more sentence. The slip box will always provide you with multiple possibilities. There we go. Now we drop another paragraph marker and a highlighter, and we save, and we start again. 13.5, becoming an expert. So 13.5, becoming an expert. So this is becoming an expert by giving up planning. By giving up planning. New paragraph. One inconvenient truth in the end. One inconvenient, and that's inconvenient. Is this convenient? Let's see if that's convenient. Yes. Well, actually, no, it doesn't. It doesn't do the, it doesn't have the NT. So we just need inconvenient, inconvenient, okay? One inconvenient truth in the end, colon. The planning skills of students are pathetic. The planning skills of students are, and then pathetic. What is it would be pathic, maybe? Let's see if that's correct. Oh, it's just PTH and then ick, and then the I. So we go, here we go. P, TH, circle. Pathetic. Period. The psychologists Roger Buehler, and this is a new paragraph. So I'm not even going to bother reading the previous one. We're just going to keep on going. So the psychologists, the psychologists, psychologist and two of them, so we have two S's. Roger Buehler, move down here, and we need Roger Buehler, and this would be Buehler, comma, Dale Griffin, Dale Griff, here we go, Griffin, and Michael Ross, and Michael Ross asked a group of students, asked a group of students to, colon, 1, realistically estimate the time. Realistically, what is realistically? Let's see. Realistic, there we go. 1. Realistically oh wait, what is realist? Because if we have realist, those are both the same. Realist and realistic. So realistically, I think that real sticky realistically. Yeah, that makes sense. Realistically estimate, zoom down here, and estimate is ESTM, right? ESTMAT for estimate. Let's see if that's correct. That is correct. Very nice. Realistically estimate the time they would need to finish a paper. The time they would need to finish a paper. Number 2, estimate additionally. So let's go drop a highlighter. Here we go. Estimate additionally how long they think they would need. Estimate additionally. So additionally, that's going to be addition. Is that additional, right? Let's see. Oh, that's right. This is the case where we can do the downward curve of the loop. Additionally, how long they think they would need. Additionally, how long they think they would need. A, so then here's a new line. So new line A. If everything goes as smoothly as possible. If everything goes as smoothly and smoothly as possible, or, and then this is our second line, so we do another paragraph marker. If everything that could go wrong would go wrong. Murphy's Law. If everything that could go wrong would go wrong. That could go wrong. And wrong is wrong, correct? It just curves down. Yep. Everything that could go wrong would go wrong. And that's the end of B. Okay, so let's go ahead and read through at least starting at one inconvenient truth. And then we'll do interestingly the majority. So we'll go ahead and drop that here, highlight, boom. And we jump back to this section where we're talking about the psychologists. Grab our highlighter. Here we go. The psychologists, Roger Bueller, Dale Griffin, and Michael um, Ross asked a group of students to one realistically estimate the time they would need to finish a paper. 2, estimate additionally how long they think they would need either, and then 2 choices. A, if everything uh, if everything goes as smoothly as possible, or, and then B, the second one, so B, or hyphen, and, not hyphen, highlight, and we go B, or B, there we go, if everything that could go wrong would go wrong. Okay, so now let's go. Interestingly, the majority of the students' realistic estimates. So let's go ahead and put that in there. Interesting. I think it's just a circle, correct? Interestingly, yep. So it is just the circle interestingly, and just a circle under that value. So there and then there. Interestingly, comma, the majority, I think, is it R? Let's see. Yes, and it needs the A. Needs the A, otherwise it's majority. So we go, the majority of the students' quote realistic estimates. The majority of the students' quote realistic estimates, so quote realistic estimates were not so different. Were not so different from their estimates for writing, and from their estimates for writing under perfect conditions. Estimates for writing under what is it perfect? Perfect, right? Let's see that. Oh, it's just PRF. Writing under perfect, so PRF conditions. Period. This alone should have given them pause. This alone should have given. I know give and given are the same. So yeah, we'll just do this alone should have given them, and then pause. P-O-S. Let's see if that's correct. Should have given them pause, and it should be just a little bit more of a upward tilt, or downward tilt actually. There we go. I need to add another page below this. So now we're on page 13. And H-T-T-S-N. Is that? No. Hold on. I can't tell. What is, this is the regular S. Yeah, so it has to be backwards, I tell ya. All right, 13, and this is page 13. Okay. Okay, over here. Pause for thought. But when the researchers checked how much time, but when the researchers checked how much time how much time the students really needed, how much time the students really needed, how much time the students really needed, comma, it was much, much longer than they estimated. It was much, much longer than they estimated. Much, much longer than they estimated. Sobering. Then they estimated. Period. Not even half of the students managed. So we go, not even half of the students managed to finish their papers, to finish their papers in the time they thought, in the time they thought they would need under the worst. They would need under the worst, and that's underlined, possible conditions. Period. Oh, and that was a Bueller. So, Bueller, comma, Griffin, and Ross. There we go. 1994. 1994. The researchers did not assume the researchers did not assume that half of the students of the students half of the students suddenly suddenly let me check half. Let me check half first. Yep, that's half of the, and then students. Half of the students suddenly, let me check suddenly. Yep, there's suddenly. Faced calamities. All these terrible things, right? Faced. Let me check faced. Yeah, just checking. Faced calamities. Calamity. Now this is interesting. It's K, lam, and then itty. That would be a T ending, right? Let's see if that's correct. So that's calamity, calam, and then int. So we go calam, and that's calamity, and then calamities added to it. All right. Beyond their description. Beyond, I think, is beyond. Oh no, it's just bn. Beyond their, and then description. Description. End of, oh no, beyond their imagination. Beyond their imagination. Yep, that's it. Beyond their imagination. Now let's go ahead and read back through. Interestingly, the majority of the students, the students' realistic estimations were not so different from their estimates for writing under perfect conditions. For writing under perfect conditions. Wow, that's funny. This alone should, and I'm going to put a dot there at the beginning for alone. This alone should have given them pause for thought. But when the researchers checked how much time the students really needed, it was much, much longer. It was much, much longer than they estimated. In even half of the students, not even half of the students managed to finish their papers in the time in the time they thought they would need over the or under the worst possible conditions. And that was Bueller, Griffin, and Ross, 1994. The researchers did not assume that let me say assume. There we go. Did not assume that half of the students suddenly faced calamities beyond their imagination. That's great. Let me check imagination. Okay, so it is just the same. All right. In another study a year later, so move down the page, new paragraph marker, and we go. In another study a year later, comma, the psychologists looked more closely. Looked more closely. Let's make that just a little longer, so we'll need it over here. Closely. No, it curves down. Curves down. So we can do close-y. It should go down below the line of writing. There we go. Looked more closely at this phenomenon. At this, and then phenomenon. Like that. Comma. Which still puzzled them. Which still, and then puzzle. Puzzled. See that? Oh, curves the other way. Puzzled. Yep. Pull down the page here, and we go. Which still puzzled them because the students could have answered. Puzzled them because the students could have answered any way they liked. Could have answered any way they liked. There was no benefit in giving overly optimistic answers. There was no I think that's benefit, right? Just B and F. There was no benefit in giving overly optimistic answers. No benefit in giving overly that's what's optimistic? Optimistic. There we go. Optim and then stick. Optimistic answers. Optimistic answers, period. They asked the students to give them time ranges to give them time range is just RNG, right? RNGS. Time ranges. Nope, it is RA. RA in. To give them time ranges in which they were either 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 50% and 50%, it goes up from the line of writing, 50%, comma, 70, no, it goes towards the beginning, 70, maybe next line down, go ahead and zoom down here, 70% or 99%. Sure to finish their paper. To finish their paper. Period. Okay, and new line of writing, so we'll go ahead and drop a paragraph marker, and let's go back to in another study a year later. There we go. In another study a year later, the psychologists looked more closely at the phenomenon. I need to check phenomenon. Phenomenon, and that is, yep, that is correct. To check the phenomenon, which still puzzled them because the students could have answered any way they liked. There was no benefit in giving. There was no benefit in giving, so we have to do a dot under there, a dot under giving overly, and let's go ahead and make that little circle a little bit clearer. Overly optimistic answers. They asked the students, let's go ahead and fix asked as well, since it needs to have a slightly smaller K. They asked the students to give them time ranges in which they were either 50%, 70%, or 99% sure sure to finish their papers. And then here's the next paragraph. Again, they were free to give any answer. Again, comma, they were free to give any answer. Any answer, period. But, sure enough, but, quote, or comma, sure enough. Sure enough, comma, only 45% managed to get their papers done. Managed to, let me check managed. So managed, you just add to it. Managed to get their papers done, in the within the papers done within the time they were sure they had. Only 45% managed to get their papers done within the time they were sure they had a 99% likelihood. Sure they had a 99% likelihood to finish it. Likelihood, so we go likelihood, I think. Let's check that. Oh, we do have to have the likely, so we just add the little circle underneath. So we go likelihood to finish it under any condition. To, and then down here, to finish it under any condition they regarded as possible. They regarded as possible. That was Bueller, Griffin, and Ross, 1995. So we go Bueller, comma, Griffin, and Ross. 1995. 1995. Period. Now, you might think it would make a difference to remind them. Now, you might think it would make, so we have it would make a difference to remind them, of about their not so perfect, to remind them about their not so perfect guesses and guesses. Let's see if that's good. And guesses, so it just turns it under. Last time. Last time. The researchers thought so. The researchers thought so, comma, but the students proved them wrong. But the students proved, PRV, proved them, so let's go ahead and move this down. Proved them wrong, period. A colon. Experience doesn't seem to teach students anything. Experience doesn't seem to teach students anything. Period. End of paragraph. Go ahead and read back through. Again, they were free to give any answer. Here we go. Again, they were free to give any answer, but sure enough, only 45%. Oy. Ouch. Let me go ahead and fix the camera as well a little bit. Bump the, let's see, maybe the exposure one level. Yeah, that works. Good. Here we go. 45% managed to get their papers done within the within within the time they were. Oh, I must have missed one. Within the time. 45 managed to get their papers done within, I forgot a line here, we need to do the time. The time they were sure they had 99% likelihood to finish what? To finish it. If that's it, then the T needs to go down a little lower. To finish it under any condition they regarded as possible. Yep. And that was Bueller, Griffin, and Ross, 1995. Now you might think it would make a difference to remind them about their not so perfect guesses last time. The researchers thought so, but the students proved them wrong. Experience does not seem to teach students anything. All right. But there is one consolation. But there is one consolation. I don't know how to do consolation, so I'm going to go ahead and check it. Yes, there is one consolation. There is one consolation, colon. It has nothing to do with being a student. It has nothing to do with being a student. It has something to do with being human. It has something to do with being human. There we go. even the people who study this phenomenon, even the people who study this phenomenon, which is called the overconfidence bias, which is called the what is confident? Confidence. So overconfidence and self-confidence. So here is overconfidence bias. Admit, and admit is emit, right? Emit. Let's see here. Yep, emit. They fall. That they too fall for it. Admit that they too fall. I think this is fall, right? Curves back in on itself. Yep. They too fall for it. And that was Kahneman 2013. Kahneman. So we go Kahneman. Kahneman 2013, 245, F. FF. All right. And that's the end of that paragraph, so we'll go back and read it again. Here we go. Right here. So we have, but there is one consolation. It has nothing to do with being a student. It has something to do with being it has something to do with being human, with being human. Even the people who study this phenomenon, which is called the overconfidence bias, admit that they too fall for it. And that was Kahneman 2013, page 245, FF. Okay? Next one. The lesson to draw is to be generally skeptical. And this is a really important lesson. Here we go. The lesson, I'm going to make the N just a little smaller. The lesson to draw is to be generally skeptical, is to be what is generally? Jenny is to be generally skeptical, and skeptical is SK skep Interesting. We go skept and then maybe a disjointed K. Skeptic, there we go. So it's skeptical. We go SKPT and then a disjointed K. So we have SKP and then there we go. SKPT disjointed K. Skeptical. There we go. About planning. About planning. Skeptical about planning, comma. Especially, so pes. Come on. Especially. I think that's especially. Yep. Especially. Especially, the lesson to draw is to be generally skeptical about planning, especially if it is merely focused, especially if it is merely focused on the outcome. Focused on the outcome, comma, not on the actual work. Not on the actual work. And the steps required to achieve a goal. So another page added below. Here we go. This is how to take smart notes, 13, page 14. Okay? Zoom back up, put it more centralized. Actual work. Not on the actual work and the steps required to achieve a goal. Not on the actual work and the steps required to achieve a goal. Achieve. I think that's achieve. Let's see. Yep. To achieve a goal. Okay. To achieve not the steps needed required, not the actual work and the steps required to achieve a goal. While it doesn't help to imagine oneself, while it doesn't help to imagine oneself, while it doesn't help to imagine oneself, the great author of a successfully and timely finished paper, the author, the great author, the great author of successful and timely finished, of successful, this is successful, or I think it's just successful, right? Let's take a look. Success and then successful. Yep, you just curve the F around. Yep. Of a successful and timely finished paper, and timely finished paper, comma, it does make a difference. It does make a difference if we have a realistic idea, if we have a realistic idea of about what needs to be done, about what needs to be done to get there in our minds. What needs to be done to get there in our minds. Period. We know from sports, we know from sports that it doesn't help that it doesn't help when athletes imagine athletes. I don't think I've done that before. I'm gonna guess that it's it curves up. No, I guess. Athletes. I'm gonna guess it's that. Let's take a look. Yep, that's athlete. When athletes we know from sports that it doesn't help when athletes imagine themselves as winners of a race. Imagine themselves as winners. Let's check winner. That is winner, and we just need to curve over this way as winners of a race. But it makes a big difference. But it makes a big difference if they imagine all the training. If they imagine all the training that is necessary, to be able to win. To be able to win. Having a more realistic idea in mind, having a more realistic, having a more realistic idea in mind. Yep, having a more realistic idea in mind not only helps them to perform better, having a more realistic idea in mind not only helps them to perform better, to perform, is it PER or just PRFM? There you go. Perform. To perform better, comma. It also boosts their motivation. It also boosts. No, that would be boast. Boosts. Let's check that. Yep. It also boosts their motivation. Singer et al. 2001. So that's Singer et al. 2001. Yeah, always imagine the training. Imagine the training. We know today that this is not only true for athletes. We know that this is not only true for athletes, comma, but for any work that needs effort, but for any work that needs effort and endurance. Endurance. What would endurance be? Endurance, yep. Endurance. Pham and Taylor, 1999. So that's Pham and Taylor, 1999. 1999. Writing definitely belongs in this category. Writing, definite. I think definitely does include that at the end, so we go definite. It includes the in, so we go def and then in and then e for definitely, okay? Definitely belongs in this category. Belongs. Belong. I think it's BE. Let's take a look. Oh, it's just BL and then the N. So it is more of a smoother turn. Smooth down, belongs in this tag, in this category. And that's the end of the paragraph. So now we're going to go ahead and read through. Let's go ahead and drop a highlighter and pull up above. We go to the lesson is to draw. That's what we're looking for. So we go back to the previous one and we're looking for the lesson, which is here. Here we go. The lesson to draw is to be generally skeptical, about planning, especially if it is merely, let me check merely. Yep, just curves back in on itself. If it is merely focused on the outcome, not on the outcome, not on the actual work and the steps required. Let me check required. There we go. The actual steps required to achieve a goal. While it does not help, to imagine oneself the great author of a what? Of a successful and timely. Is that timely as TME? Yep, that's timely. And timely finished paper. It does make a difference if we have a realistic idea about what needs to be done to get there in our minds. We know from sports. Let me check if that's sports. We know from sports that it does not help when athletes imagine themselves as winners of a race, but it makes a big difference if they imagine all the training that is necessary to be able to win. Having a more realistic idea in mind not only helps them to perform better, it also boosts their motivation. That was Singer et al. 2001. We know that this is not only true for athletes, but for any work that needs effort and endurance. And that one was, let's go ahead and make that a little bit bigger for the endurance. In endurance, like so. Endurance, and that one was Pham and Taylor. 1999. Writing definitely belongs in this category. Good, now we're going to go on. The lesson is not that we can't learn from our experiences. The other lesson is that we can't learn the other lesson is not. The other lesson is not that we can't learn from our experiences, comma, but that we can only learn, but that we can only learn from our experiences, if feedback follows shortly after. If feedback follows shortly after, period. Afterwards. Oh, and we've gone into the dark again, huh? Let's go ahead and let's make it a little bit lighter. Let's increase the gain, maybe. Let's increase the gain. There we go. Yeah, that'll work. Actually, yeah, that's not so bad. Good. All right. Shortly afterwards. So afterwards, if feedback follows shortly afterwards. So let's do afterwards. So you just extend it a little longer, and so you go from aft to afterwards. AF, like so, afterwards. And then hyphen. And maybe more than once in a while. And maybe more than, come on, once in a while. Once in a while. Next line down. Period. Disassembling the big challenge of, quote, writing a paper. So we're going to go to disassembling. Well, assemble is ASM, so then dis just goes in front of it, right? So we go, if this is DAS, so we have, disassembling. Let's, maybe it's that. Let's take a look. That's disaster, so we just need disassemble, SSE, M. So there's assemble, and dis would just add it in front, right? So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go disassembling, there you go. The big challenge of writing a paper, disassembling the big challenge. Let's check that. There we go. Of, and then writing a paper. Of, quote, writing a paper. into small manageable tasks, into small manageable is going to move up here, so we're going to go manageable. Let's see if that's correct. Yep, that's correct. Manageable. Tasks. Helps to set realistic goals. Helps to set realistic goals that can be checked on a regular basis. That can be checked on a regular basis, period. If someone starts from the unrealistic assumption, if someone starts from the unrealistic assumption, and assumption is going to be, let's check that out. I don't know what assumption would be. Oh, okay. So it's assumption. From the unrealistic assumption that a paper can be written, that paper can be written by following a linear plan. By following a written plan of finding a topic, quote, doing literature research, second, comma, followed by separable stages, let's see if followed. So and then the D would need to be kept separate. Followed by separable stages. So separable, S-E-P-R, S-E-P-R, and then B. See if that's separable. Yep, separable. Go ahead, zoom down the page a little bit. Separable stages of reading. There we go. Stages of reading, comma, thinking, comma, writing and proofreading, writing and proofreading, PRF. Yep, proof hyphen reading, comma, then it is no surprise. Then it is no surprise. It is no surprise that any time planning that is based that is based on this assumption will be unrealistic as well. Will be unrealistic as well. Period. Once we do some research, once we do some research, we may discover that our initial idea, we may discover that our initial idea, and initial is in ishal. I don't know if I've done initial before. Let's go check it. There we go. Inish. That our initial idea was not as good as we thought. Was not as good as, and that's a phrase we can use, right? Phrasal, as good as. It was not as good as we thought. It's a semicolon. Once we read something, once we read something, comma, it is likely that we will discover something. It is likely that we will. Let's go ahead and add a line below this. This is page. This is how to take smart notes. Still section 13, though we're getting really, really close to the end. And this is currently page 15. Okay? Oy. So, we will. Okay. We will. It is likely that we will discover. We will discover something else to read. Discover something else to read, comma, because that is how we discover literature. To read, because that is how we discover literature. Once we start writing down our arguments, once we start writing down our arguments, comma, it is likely that we will realize it is likely that we will realize that we need to take something else, that we need to take something else into account, comma, change our initial ideas, change our initial ideas, or go back to an article, or go back to an article we might not have understood well enough. We might not have understood well enough. None of this is unusual. None of this is unusual, comma, but all of this will mess up any grand plans. But all of this will mess up any grand plans. Good. And that's the end of that paragraph. So we'll go back and we'll reread that, starting with the only lesson. Okay. Looking for that. Where is that section? The only lesson. There it is. Here we go. The only lesson is not that we cannot learn from our experiences, but that we can only learn from our experiences if feedback follows shortly afterwards. And maybe more than once in a while. And did I lose a whole disassembling? I skipped a whole line there. Interesting. Disassembling the big challenge. The big challenge. Let me check challenge. I think I already did, but yep, that's it. the big challenge of writing a paper into small, manageable tasks helps, once again, got to do the aspirate, helps to set it. It helps. It helps. I should have a helps. No, helps. It is helps to set realistic goals that can be checked on a regular basis. If someone starts from the unrealistic assumption that a paper can be written by following a written plan of finding a written plan of finding a topic, doing learning, of finding a topic, doing literature, that's literature, not learning, doing literature research, second, doing literature research second, followed by separable stages of reading, thinking, writing, and proofreading. Then, let's go ahead and fix this. Then it is no surprise that when the planning that is based on this assumption will be unrealistic as well. Once we do some research, we may discover that our initial idea was not as good as we thought. Once we read something, it is likely that we will discover something something else to read, because that is how you discover literature. Once we start writing down our arguments, it is likely that we will realize that we need to take something else into account, which are initial ideas or good, which are initial ideas take into account, change our initial ideas, or go back to an article we might not have understood well enough. None of this is unusual, but all of this will mess up any great plans. Very good, very good. Okay, and continuing on. If we instead set out to write, here we go. If instead we set out, if we instead set out to write, say, 3 notes on a specific day, set out to write 3 notes on a specific day, comma, review 1 article, review 1 article, no, review 1 paragraph, review 1 paragraph we wrote the day before, we wrote the day before, comma, or check all the literature, or check all the literature we discovered in an article, check all the literature we discovered in an article. We know exactly at the end of the day, we know exactly at the end of the day what we were able to accomplish. What we were able to accomplish, isn't it? Is it that? Accomplish? Oh, it's AKP. There we go. What we were able to accomplish, and can adjust our expectations for the next day. And can adjust our expectations. And adjust is, I think it's that. And adjust there we go. And adjust our expectations. And can adjust our expectations. And expectation is expectations, I believe. Our expectations for the next day. For the next day. There we go. Getting hundreds of these cases of feedback getting hundreds of these cases of feedback. Let's see, this is going to be cases of feed. Here we go. No, that's peed. Feed. Feedback. Getting hundreds of these cases of feedback over the course of a year. Over the course of a year. Over the course of a year will make us much more likely, over the course of a year, will make us much more likely to learn from them, to learn from them, and to become more realistic, and to become more, zoom down on the page a little, more realistic about our productivity, about our productivity than if we just miss a deadline, than if we just miss a deadline, I think, is that? Let's see what deadline is. Okay, so we need to do just a long D stroke and then a EN. Okay. And if we miss a deadline once in a while, once in a while, comma, which of course, comma, of course, close quote, will not happen again until next time. So we're not going to miss a deadline, of course, until next time. That's so cute. Of course, will not happen again until next time. All right, and that is the end of that paragraph. So now we're going to go ahead and read back through. Let me drop a paragraph marker and highlight. Okay, let's go. If we instead set out to write, if instead we set out to write, say, 3 notes on a specific day, review 1 paragraph we wrote the day before, or check all the literature we discovered in an article, we know exactly at the end of the day what we were able to accomplish, and can adjust, I need to fix adjust a little bit, and can adjust our expectations. I think that's expectations, right? Yep. And can adjust our expectations for the next day. Getting hundreds of these cases of feedback over the course of a year will make us much more likely to learn from them and to become much to become um, more realistic about our productivity than if we just miss a deadline once in a while, which of course will not happen again until next time. All right. And we got 3 minutes left, so I'll probably call it there for tonight. Yeah. Nice. So we got to the end of page 140, and where did we start? I think the process of writing unintended byproducts. So we did 1, 2, and yeah, 3 pages. We're getting just a little bit faster. It is incremental, but we've definitely hit the 3-page mark, which is nice. And I think the interesting thing about shorthand is that at a certain point it can kind of plateau, and that's normal. So yeah, I think I'll just call it there for tonight. Good stream. That was actually quite good, especially right there at the end. It's nice that so what we're doing 9 hours. Today was 9 hours of copy work, and we're on page 141. I mean, technically, the book itself will be done on page 143. So tomorrow I will be done. Tomorrow I will be done with the book proper, and then we just begin on the afterword, and then the appendix and explanation of the Lumen Zettelkasten or Zettelkasten. So very good, very good. Hope everyone's had a good night. I know, as I've thought about this, you realize that essentially the work that I'm doing now, the streaming and the fact, there's literally no one, right, who comes into the streams right now. And that, in essence, that's the way it should be. You think about that any great work that's been done in the past, anything that is worthy, it doesn't even have to be great, it's just worthy. Any worthy venture that has been accomplished, there are long, long, long periods where it really does just have to be you. You have to stand alone. You have to be able to bear up under the stress of standing alone and of working alone. So in a way, the stream here is it's symbolic of that. It's demonstrating that process and the idea that one day it will bear fruit, but as of right now, someone's got to dig the soil. So thank you very much for joining in, and I hope that you are all doing well, that you have a wonderful and a blessed evening, and I will see you tomorrow. So it was fun. It was fun tonight. Take care. Bye-bye.